This is episode number 417 of WP Watercooler. What makes a good web host in 2022? I don't know what happened here.
3, 2, 1.
I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me at Jason Tucker on Twitter.
Oh, man. I'm Steve Zehngut. I'm the founder of Zeek Interactive, and I run the OC WordPress meetup. She's Say Reed. She's not here today, but she eats WordPress, breathes WordPress, sleeps WordPress, drinks WordPress. I don't remember.
And y'all know who it is. It's your boy Jason Cosper, aka Fat Mullenweg, back at it again on the world's most influential WordPress podcast.
And that podcast can be found at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. You know, just to let you folks know, I think it was Say that made this intro. I think that's what happened. It was Say's fault. It's always Say's fault.
I got a comment here. How much smoother do the intros go when she's not here?
No.
Is it coincidence? Come on. No.
Is Steve saying this because he knows she doesn't listen to the show? It's like how we talk smack on Steve when he's not here.
This will be the one
podcast
he listens to.
Yeah. She's really interested in what we have to say about web hosting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We miss you. I love Say. We miss you.
We miss you, Say. So, yeah, today we're going to be talking about web hosting and kind of give a little bit of an idea of what web hosting is in 2022. And we even have a person who works in web hosting and has worked in web hosting for a very long time.
Steve, you're working in web hosting now?
Cosper's actually worked at all the WordPress web hosts. So, Jason, I think you and I just log off and let him take it from here.
Right.
Perfect. That works for me, dude.
See ya. Well played.
It's like,
well
okay.
played.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, web hosting is definitely has changed and adapted over the years. I know that WP Engine just launched their new headless
Atlas,
yes.
Yep.
Which I mean that sounds great. I mean there are people making plays in that now. Pagely, one of the originators of like managed WordPress hosting, just got snatched up by Google not too long ago. They're apparently if their constant hype generation on Twitter is to be believed, they're working on some sort of managed WooCommerce thing to take on one of my former employers, LiquidWeb/Nexus, who have kind of carved out their niche in kind of managed WooCommerce hosting. DreamHost, where I work at, has been at things for 20 plus years, originated the one-click installer. Bluehost has changed from being just like a shared WordPress host or a shared just a web host to like a straight up like WordPress host. I think they still have their legacy cPanel customers or whatever, but so the landscape has really shifted over just the past like 5 years.
SiteGround's still around, right? It's for people who just want to kind of do it themselves. Not that SiteGround's bad. I'm just saying, SiteGround's great hosting for that kind of stuff. And they've been in the space for quite a long time too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They just won some Forbes list thing just recently as well.
SiteGround?
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
What are sort of the minimum things you need at a host to be a, how do I put this, to have decent WordPress hosting?
I mean, when it comes to WordPress, I think table stakes is caching, and that should be optimally should be some sort of server-side caching, so you don't have to engage PHP at all. That eliminates a lot of the like shared WordPress hosts, the ones running on some sort of pack-em-in shared infrastructure. I I mean, that doesn't mean that you can't just get started with an inexpensive, you have an idea, you just want a website, spin up an inexpensive shared account. Like, that's great. That'll get you bootstrapped, because, you don't want to go in and start paying, WP Engine entry level prices like right out of the gate, or Kinsta like entry level prices, or Pagely entry level prices, which I believe start at like $500.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
but you're going to have to kind of make that decision up front. Do you want to build for who you are now or who you're going to be, right? Because there is a migration process, right? And it's become a lot easier these days. But if you're on a shared host or an inexpensive host, there is a migration process to one of the hosts that you're mentioning. Most of them have written technology to where you just click a button or put in a couple fields and it does all that for you.
Right.
But it's still a process. Some hosts, and Cosper, I agree with everything you said. By the way, some hosts have a shared or a more inexpensive tier where you can start and then just flip a switch and go larger
Right.
As you grow. All right.
And that I don't normally talk about my day job, just to kind of give that separation, but that's kind of
okay to have a shameless plug.
Yeah. I mean, that is effectively what we do at DreamHost. We have, and we've long had, shared hosting plans that get people in the door. And then when their business grows, just like we saw the writing on the wall, and spun up our own managed set of instances, and even have ways for people to, if they graduate past manage, can go to full dedicated servers. So like, you have that path where you can still have, you can grow on to your own server hardware if that is something you need.
So we're bouncing around here a little bit, but I do want to touch on something you just said. What's the difference between managed and not?
I mean, that definition can really vary.
I understand.
Depending on hosts. Manage.
Well, let's talk again as far as like what you consider table stakes for being a managed WordPress host.
Yeah, table stakes for managed WordPress host. Basically, the site should have, like I said, some server level caching. Should have some sort of just when you actually have to hit a dynamic page, it should be fast. Like normally that entails some sort of object caching like Redis or Memcache. I want to say, God, I don't want to butcher his name, but Konstantin Kovnashin did.
Well done.
Yeah, he did something with DigitalOcean where basically it's more of a technically oriented, like managed hosting, that you spin up a shell script, but it still manages a lot of like the day-to-day processes and stuff like that. He's done a form of object caching that uses the file system, doesn't use Redis or Memcache or anything else. And if I remember correctly, the tests that he ran with that were like, you may not actually need to be running Redis at all, but something that basically just makes PHP fast when you actually visit it. I know that some places give you more PHP workers, like depending on plan levels and things like that. I know that was a thing that a lot of managed hosts started doing.
Which essentially means you can have more simultaneous users doing the same thing at one time. I'm oversimplifying it, but that's essentially what it buys you.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah. But let's see. CDNs also for managed WordPress hosts. What were you going to say, Steve?
I was going to say, let's put technology aside. I was thinking when I think of managed, I think of the support that you get of managed versus unmanaged, right? So the expertise that comes along with it, the maintenance of either your core WordPress and your plugins or both, right? So those kinds of things that are sort of done for you, so you don't have to worry about them. That's what I think of when I think of managed hosting.
Absolutely. Yeah. You may still run into issues where they'll say like, oh, that's out of scope for our support, and you maybe need to go hit up, say you're running a Beaver Builder site and you're running into an issue there. They might still say like, oh, you got to go to Beaver Builder for that or whatever. But they'll in a lot of managed support, they'll do everything they can to try to keep you happy, because basically you're paying an outsized, or not necessarily outsized, but compared to a shared host, fee to get that service, to get that that help and those resources.
And I'm not I'm not that familiar with DreamHost. It's been a long time since I hosted there, but I do know that WP Engine, Nexus kind of take that a step further, sort of take ownership of your whole site, right? There are going to be cases where if you have something custom, they're going to say, listen, you need to contact your developer, right? Because this is outside of scope. But they do try to kind of take ownership and try to find out what's going wrong if something's going wrong, and at least lead you to the right place.
Yeah, and I mean the DreamHost support will do that too. They'll try to get you as far along as possible until eventually, in the very rare case, they'll be like, "Hey, you have to engage your developer or an outside developer for this."
Yeah. So great. So let's go back to technology for a second. You're starting to talk about CDN. You talked about caching. CDN, I think, is also part of the table stakes for WordPress host.
Yeah, definitely. And some I've seen some folks fall back on like some hosts develop partnerships with specific CDNs. They'll run their own using or leveraging like AWS or Google Cloud or whatever. There are others that go even simpler route, and I have seen partner with Automatic and Jetpack and say, hey, just use Jetpack's CDN feature because it handles images and JavaScript and whatever, and they don't really have as many pops around the world, but if there's something if it's something basic, that may even help. So if that's something that you're looking at and say you still don't have the managed host money, you can still look into maybe enabling the Jetpack CDN. As much as I am reluctant to suggest Jetpack for any situation.
Yeah.
I mean, that works.
Yeah. Yep.
What about like target price? Like what would be the lowest you'd want to pay for a site just starting out? No traffic, you didn't move it anywhere, you're just starting it, and you know you're going to grow. So like what would be like that lowest amount that you would be comfortable with, either for yourself or for one of your customers?
Before you answer that question, I did this. We were thinking along the same lines, Jason, because I went to SiteGround just to look at and I searched SiteGround WordPress just to look at their pricing. Take it without Googling, without looking. What do you think their bottom price is for WordPress managed hosting?
I'd say like $4.95 a month.
You're close. Actually, I would have said much higher. Yeah, it's regularly $15 a month, but they're doing it now for $2.99 per month.
Mm-hmm.
That's not $299, $2.99.
You know, I spent like 30 seconds building out this thing of dollar web hosting. When you said $2.99, I just thought, wow, okay. Yes. So but that's the introductory price, right? That's not like you're not getting that forever.
No, but it's a discount off of their $15 price. So $15 a month is about their bottom price.
It's the get your feet wet price.
I mean,
it all figured out.
Same thing with Bluehost. Bluehost, you look at their site and starting at $2.95 a month.
Yep. WP Engine. So here's what I was going to say. About pricing is typically what I look for is for a starting price, somewhere in the range of like $40 to $100, right? That to me feels like the right range of getting all the things that Cosper's talking about for your WordPress site. I feel like if you sort of going lower than like a $39.99 price point, something's going to be limited or cut out of something that you need, right? And it's worth that extra money to alleviate the headaches that you're going to face with something that is more of a DIY situation,
right?
To me,
yeah. I mean, you're paying for bandwidth, you're paying for CPU usage, you're paying for storage. WordPress loves its storage because it just wants to make like 9 copies of every image for every little thing. And you're paying for them to partner with the CDN if they are doing that. If not, you have to go find your own. You have some of those sorts of things. If you want to have a firewall or any of those sorts of things, you can go Cloudflare or one of these other companies that are out there to do that. Like there's some things that, and all these are partnerships that could either go through that web host or you could just get them out separately. But yeah, you're going to end up spending, like Steve's saying, somewhere around that $50 point, I would imagine. And that sounds like I mean, I wouldn't pay $1.
No, the startup plan on WP Engine is $20, $19.99 a month. Right. And then they kind of go up from there. And they, there's all kinds of ranges. So that's about where they start. What they limit you on there is you can only have one site instead of multiple sites, one install, and your support is limited to chat instead of phone. Right. So you kind of have to go up for more of the managed stuff that we've talked about so far.
Right.
That brings up a good point though, is if you are setting up multiple sites and you're going to have them all hosted under the same plan, that's something you're gonna have to take into consideration, is the cost of that.
Right. Nexus is, I'm just looking around here. Nexus is about the same. So Nexus starts at $19 a month if you're going monthly, or $13 a month if you're going yearly. And then they sort of go up kind of in the same range as WP Engine, $19 up to actually it goes much higher, but sort of in the range that we're talking about is not kind of 19 to 109 is their first 3 plans. And that 109 plan, I've got a lot of clients that buy that and never switch off of that. It's actually a very robust plan.
Yeah. I will say, at DreamHost, our basic DreamPress price, I think, is $16.95. We don't have a CDN. We're working through. I'm sure my boss might be like, "What the F, Jason?" But we're working through some things, trying to figure out a better CDN offering for our customers. Everyone, if you don't have CDN, it's like I said, it's kind of table stakes. So we just want to make sure that our customers get the best possible thing. Our support routes customers either to Jetpack or Cloudflare. And we have some integrations in our panel with Cloudflare that make that setup a little bit easier. But
the trade-off there is, DreamHost has been in the business for so long, especially the WordPress hosting business. What your trade-off there is you're paying for the expertise, right?
Yeah.
And so even though I haven't been with DreamHost for a long time, I know a lot of people who host with DreamHost, and they love it. Right. Yeah. And they love it for the support. They love it for the ease of use. They love it for a lot of things. And frankly, even though Cloudflare is a DIY solution, it really does everything for you. And Cloudflare is free, right? At the kind of tiers we're talking about, Cloudflare is free, right?
Sure.
And so yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
So JD has a question. It says, besides the globally known hosts, there are also many hosts that operate in a single country. How do these compare?
Well, I think it's interesting. One thing that immediately springs to mind with that question is Germany. And in the case of Germany, if you have a German-run company, I believe it's either a law or a very strict encouragement to host with a German company if you are in Germany, or effectively your servers should be located in Germany. I remember some talks at a particular host that I've worked at talking about like what do we want to do about the German server requirement. Basically, like there are customers in particular regions that won't look at you basically, unless you have some sort of like local or close to local presence.
Interesting. And now we're not talking about the reach of the server being only in that one country. The reach of the server is still going to be global. It's just where where it's physically located is what we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
I just think that I'm not sure. I haven't. It's been a few years since I've thought about it, let alone even looked at the law, which is why I'm so like shaky on the details. But I mean, it's that partially has to be about latency. It has to be about all that other stuff. I remember helping somebody troubleshoot a site issue, and our they were, oh, my site is so slow. We look at it and we're like, your site is fine. What's, we wondered why the person's site was slow. Well, upon talking to the customer, they were hosting their site in, they were trying to access the site in Brazil over a 3G network. And so we actually had to go in with some testing tools and say, okay, here is what it looks like in Brazil over a simulated 3G connection. Oh yeah, your site's slow. Well, like here's what you need to do. So I think that these local and regional players, if that is something that you were concerned about with latency, with getting to your customers as quickly as possible, unless one of these larger players have hosting in your particular region, then maybe give the local guys a look. I've heard a lot of really good things about just local hosts, like that kind of deal on a smaller scale might be more of a lifestyle business than supporting 300 plus employees across all these different time zones and etc., like you have with your GoDaddies and DreamHosts and WP engines, etc.
Well, there's a related topic there about kind of where the servers are located, right? It's actually kind of important to know. Years back, I actually had a client that was hosting at a host where the servers were located in the basement of a building in New York City. Remember when New York flooded? I forgot what the name of that.
Sure do.
New York flooded, and the servers, all those servers got wet, like got drenched, like they were out. Like it was instantly gone, and there was no redundancy. There was no backup. That was their host. And so I think, it's something to think about when you are choosing a host. How big is the company? Do they have redundancy? What kind of servers are they running? Are they reselling servers? Right. Those are things to think about. If you're thinking about, I was going to say 100% uptime. That never happens, but the 99.99% uptime or whatever they rate it at.
Yeah. I mean, especially in a case like that where you have these like hyper local regional hosts, and they are running a small server farm or whatever out of a basement somewhere. An important thing to ask in that case is, do you have offsite backup? Like, okay, well, we see you've made the choice to not run on AWS or Google Cloud or Azure or whatever. So what are you doing in the case of a disaster like this? I want to say, was it Hurricane Electric? Don't they, I think that they're down in like the South, like the Louisiana area or nearby. And whenever they have a flood, a storm, anything like that.
Name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is it a problem when the servers are below sea level? Is that an issue?
They run colder, but they run dead too.
Right.
But I think you bring up a great point. A lot of these hosting companies are reselling Google Cloud, AWS, Azure, like you said. Those things are fine. Those are well protected and redundant, right? Those make me feel safe.
Sure.
Those
or you have friends that are also going to be down as well when your thing's down. So, when Google's down,
Well,
everyone's bitching about it on Twitter, and you're like, well, okay, it's just part of the, we're all down. All right, I get it.
I mean, look,
You go to try to stick a credit card into a credit card machine, and money doesn't work, and you're just like, oh, so money's not working right now. All right. Well, we'll just set this one out for a little while until AWS reboots.
We're living Mr. Robot. Verizon went down this week. Like, Verizon cell phones were down for 5 hours this week. All cell phone on Verizon was just out for 5 hours. And so those things do happen.
Those things do happen. I mean, satellites go down, like any of those sorts of things. JD had one little question regarding, like, if you're hosting someplace like Germany, would it be fast in Brazil if the CDN had,
No.
edge servers there or anything like that?
No.
I mean, your statics will be fast.
No, you were talking in your case. The case you were talking about was the person's local connection, right? It's how they were connecting to the internet that was slow, right? It had nothing to do with the server or the CDN or any of the setup.
Right. I mean, we effectively also realized that the hero image that they were using was a PNG that we could WebP up, basically. And also JPEG, because it didn't have any sort of PNG transparency or anything else, and managed to get things loading quickly for them.
Well, you bring up a good point, because some hosts actually offer things like tiny PNG or other things that are just built into their system so that you don't run into those problems, right? Without something like that to protect you, right? You could upload a raw photo from your DSLR into WordPress, and your theme could be showing, a 10 megabyte header image, right? That happens, right? It happens when you don't have those things in place. So that is something you might look for in a host, where they put those protections in place for you, and those speed things are just sort of optimized for you automatically.
Well, I mean, hopefully, if people can come to some sort of agreement, which I know is rare in the WordPress project, but if people can sort out their differences and their objections, WordPress 6.0 was targeted to ship with WebP support by default. Some people are like, but I want JPEGs. I want like these things. Don't go converting my image to some Google backed format and screw things up, even though the compression on it is much better. It doesn't look like crap if it gets not necessarily over compressed, but highly compressed. But if people can come to those agreements, you might not even have to worry about that, as like from a hosting perspective. Things should just start being optimized, and hopefully the WordPress performance team can help push that through a little bit, so it becomes something that doesn't even have to be a consideration anymore.
We'll see.
Right.
I mean, look, we've been using image technology made by CompuServe for many years, and who's CompuServe, and we're still using it. Right. So and we can't even figure out how to pronounce the word correctly. So it's it's that thing.
Yeah.
At least
it's I thought that was settled.
Nah, man, it wasn't settled.
Man.
It wasn't settled.
Damn it.
It's an MP4 with GIF as the suffix, and your browser just displays it the same anyway.
Right. Exactly. Well, I'm hoping that we were able to help some folks out with trying to figure out what type of web host to look at. There's so many different things. We've talked about this stuff multiple times over the last almost 10 years of us doing this show. And feel free to kind of go back and look at some of the stuff that we've talked about in the past on what things you should be looking for. I'll put some links down in the description down below so you can take a look at it, and we'll go from there. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. 30 minutes already?
Yeah,
it has been. Wow. Steve has a tea time. He has to get there. Talk to y'all later. Here's our outro. And speaking of tea time, if you're out, playing golf, you can actually listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and you can even watch us in your pocket in YouTube. Talk to y'all later. You have a good one. Bye bye.